Hi, good day. We continue with part 4 of chapter 1 of Future Israel. You can read more about this chapter, the book, and the series in the description box below the video. Let's continue then with book 1, Arrival. Having had our entrance mikveh, we are still at the brand new international airport in the south of Israel and will now proceed to the train station. Behind me is a picture of the water feature at Ben Gurion Airport, because a similar feature is in the waiting hall of the new airport in this story. Let's get going then with chapter 1, part 4, the economy of restoration. Feeling totally rejuvenated in mind, spirit, and body, I went back to the waiting area and did not have to wait long for my wife, who was no slouch in her bathroom either. We walked further and got to the huge hall where a replica of old Ben Gurion Airport's water feature dumped water from the sky into a circular pool meters below, creating the impression of a rain shower. Noting that the next train's departure would be in 30 minutes, we sauntered further on, past the bus departure area where travelers were boarding buses for the many new villages to the south, the peninsula, Goshen, and Egypt, now called Mitzrayim. Others would travel north on the new Isaiah 19 highway, which links royal Israel with Egypt and New Assyria, the three blessed sister nations of the millennium. In that day, Israel will be one of three with Egypt and Assyria, a blessing in the midst of the land, whom Jehovah Shavachot bless, saying, Blessed is my people Egypt, Mitzrayim, and Assyria, the work of my hands, and Israel, my inheritance. Mitzrayim means my people Egypt, whereas 5 cities have now become home for surviving secular Jews from all over the world, including Israelis, who, because of their lack of obedient faith, have disqualified themselves from living in the Holy Land. As the prophet has said, I will purge you from those who revolt and rebel against me, although I bring them out of the land where they are living. Yet they will not enter the land of Israel. We crossed a wide concourse and eventually got to the station, where we got seated at the table and ordered some sandwiches and coffee. This was not served in disposable paper cups, for the old lie of recycling with which the packaging industry has created mountains of waste on the planet has been condemned, and most plastics are outlawed. I paid with 3 1-shekel coins. Cash is again king. The waiter laughed and thanked me for the generous tip. Forgotten is the catastrophic financial collapse of the Great Reset at the start of the tribulation. Our income is a stipend I receive from my conference work and pension, even though we have not yet settled in the land. Where does the money for the development of all this infrastructure come from? Wondered my wife. Oh, did you forget? It's funded per the new Ezra proclamation on the nations, that decree by King Cyrus of Persia that gave the returning Jews the means to rebuild Jerusalem and the temple, I reminded her. It also helps that the world's no more governed by thieves, she laughed, and that nobody is spending a shekel or a dollar on weapons, I nodded. As Micah 4:3 has prophesied, the economic restoration of the nations is aided by converting obsolete weapons into the proverbial plowshares. Nations do not learn to make war anymore. Neither are billions squandered on prisons. For evil is constrained at this time, and so too man's urge towards destructive habits involving drugs, liquor, and evil banalities. Liberated from those who control the economies of power, greed, and corruption, the economy of the nations is being rebuilt with a mix of private and cooperative ownership, where profits are shared between labor and the management as a team. With a huge reduction in the world's population, unemployment is unheard of, and with purchasing power now evenly distributed, nobody is absurdly wealthy, but neither are there masses of impoverished people, for all the nations are benefiting from Messiah's rule. The wealth of the rich is no more the righteousness of the poor, for the needy are no more exploited, but effectively assisted to improve their circumstance. We will always have the poor with us, as Yeshua said, but they are being cared for by their communities and not by bureaucracy. Genuine justice, fairness and equality, righteousness and peace are the key attributes of the Messianic Millennium. Look there, my wife nudged me in the side and pointed to a Gilgal clinic sign. Ouch, I laughed, knowing how many new arrivals will first have to visit one of these compulsory clinics before proceeding into Israel. My own memory of that event still being fresh. Gilgal was the point of entry for ancient Israel and their national circumcision under Joshua's leadership. Gilgal was also where Judah welcomed King David back after the rebellion, hence the name of these clinics, located at all points of entry to the land. As with the first Exodus, all who cross into the promised land must be circumcised to heed the warning. No foreigner, uncircumcised in heart or uncircumcised in flesh, shall enter my sanctuary, including any foreigner who is among the children of Israel. Some Messianics followed a doctrine of belated circumcision while we were in the wilderness during the time of the Gentiles. They missed the negligence of Moses with his first son, and then again when Israel was in the wilderness. We, however, followed the Acts 15 instruction and stayed as called, leaning on the teachings of the Apostle Paul in 1 Corinthians 7, who circumcised the half-Jew Timothy, but not Titus or Trophimus. Every male of the house of Jacob destined to migrate, or whose visit has been approved but who has not yet received the Brit Milah, now has to undergo this humbling procedure on arrival. Medical or pagan circumcision not counting, because the land is regarded as holy. Look how beautiful that is, said my wife, tugging on my arm to get my attention. I looked and had to give her credit. The light filtered through the huge sky roof of the departure hall, painting a kaleidoscope of color. Bright colors are in abundance, though most of the elderly pilgrims prefer wearing white and blue, the colors of Israel, combined with khaki, olive green and orange. Our former Orthodox Jewish brethren are wearing every color but black, having at long last ended their 2 millennia of mourning for the sins of the fathers and the resultant galut, suffering the curses of the diaspora. You can have our table, a young couple happily offered us their seats, acting on the 5th commandment, linking longevity to being Torah obedient. We gratefully accepted and sat down, happy to look at the multitude from the nations, all joyful, all filled by the same Spirit, all being related in Messiah. The hall was crowded, for 2 more aircraft have landed after ours, bringing pilgrims from Southeast Asia and Latin America to this gateway on the southern border of the Promised Land. We saw a band of extremely joyful Filipino pilgrims, some with tambourines, trumpets, guitars and banners, making their way through the crowds, singing and attracting lots of smiles and encouragement as they went along. We couldn't understand a word they sang, but immediately recognized the tune of the popular Psalm 47 combined with Revelation 11:15. Clap your hands, all you people, sing with loud voices of jubilation, for Jehovah the Most High is King over the earth. For Yeshua reigns over the nations. The kingdom of the world has become the kingdom of our Lord and Messiah. He will reign forever and ever. Jubilation of this nature and joy fill the air we breathe. For the ransomed of Jehovah shall return and come to Zion with singing, with everlasting joy on their hands. Isaiah 35:10. Thank you for having watched part 4 of chapter 1 of the book in the series titled Future Israel Arrival. We will conclude chapter 1 with the next video of part 5. Please like and subscribe and share the vision of victory with fellow believers. Shalom.